After my last video, I did something I thought would be impossible. I actually had some fun. I know it's crazy. I beat Rolana and I finally felt that satisfaction of beating a boss from these games for the first time in this DLC. And thankfully that feeling wasn't ruined afterwards. I enjoyed playing the following areas. For a little while anyways. We'll get into it more shortly of course. This time around, since it's been essentially a week since the DLC dropped instead of a few days, I'm much more comfortable talking more openly about it. So we'll be going to depth with a lot of the areas that I would consider mid-game. Which I would say it's pretty much anything you can explore after Rolana, but not past the Shadow Keep I guess. That'll be my threshold, including optional content. There will be chapters for each area, and I do have bullet points now, so it will hopefully be more of a focused and concise video. Not to mention I don't have to talk about very general things like I did in the last one. However, I still won't be reading the comments as I basically just beat this segment. I'm about 54 hours in right now, but I will come back to them later if you still wish to tell me what you thought of it. And if you missed the first video, just know I'm doing my first playthrough of this in Negan Plus 7. So yeah, so far, the mid-game for me has been a better experience overall, but there are occasional sticking points that are just aching or just really bad to me, which is very annoying, for sure. However, that's kind of more on par for me for the base game as well, because I do overall enjoy Elden Ring, but there's definitely some very, silly, bad things that you can find across the entire game. Some you can ignore, some you can't, it's just kind of how it goes sometimes. So we'll be going area per area and talking about what I really enjoyed about it so far, and some of the things I did not. So starting with the Scadu Altus, I immediately liked this area a lot more than I did the graveside plain and stuff. And more than I did, I guess, the grave area, the red one, definitely more than Jagged Peak. And I guess it's kind of on par with the Cerulean Coast for the most part. So yeah, I thought this area was much more concise in the content that it has. It's just a lot more tightly packed than the graveside plain was. There's maybe about the same things to do, but just in the more concise area. So that's definitely a big pro for me so far. It's not as flat either, and I mean that both literally and metaphorically in this case, than the graveside plain. But I don't know, this is all just in one smaller, tight area, which is a big pro for me. Unfortunately, it does have one repeat boss, which was one of the first things I saw about the Scadu Altus, because I came from it from the fort before I killed Rolana. But I kind of just ignored it for the time being. I was like, I don't want to deal with it, so which was probably the good choice, actually, because at that point, I wasn't feeling the greatest about the game, as you probably saw from the last video. So I ignored it for that time being. I did explore the fort, it was fine. But then after I beat Rolana is when I started going more into that area. And yeah, the Ghost Flame Dragon is one of the only downsides I can think of. It wasn't as bad of an experience because there's a lot more knights and stuff there than in another situation that kind of got the boss to almost half health for me, personally. I was able to just kill it off, which is great. If I hadn't though, that would have been really annoying. But still, it's the third time I've seen this dragon. I hope it's the last, I swear God, it better not be another one. There was the first red bear encounter, which was a surprise. Because I think at this point I had already seen the smaller red bears, but I actually found the rune bear equivalent. And it was fine. I think he one-shot me the first time I saw him. Because he did that earthquake attack, which apparently every single enemy that has an earthquake type attack or whatever you want to call it, for some reason those hurt so much every time. It either one-shots me or does most of my health if I'm not prepared to take it. If I don't have ritual shield or some shit. And it's just so obnoxious because it's the kind of attack that you think, oh, I'm going to roll the first one, but then there's a follow-up. So if you don't know about it, it's just going to get you every time. Besides that, though, actually did less damage than I thought overall. Because the rune bears in the base game can be brutal. And I know they're mostly the same, but somehow they feel a little bit better. I don't know why. Maybe just because I am a little more used to rune bears at this point. But yeah, that one was fine. I didn't have any complaints about it. It was definitely just kind of okay, another base game boss kind of reused for the DLC. Okay. It exists, I guess, to me. So overall, Scadu Altus, not many complaints there. It's generally good. It connects to a few different areas from here. You don't even need to go to the Shadow Keep for connecting to different spots and stuff, which is really nice. I think at this point, I think what I wanted to do was I was gonna grab the grace for the Shadow Keep, and then that's when the Great Rune Shattering thing happens. The game really catches your attention during that, and I was freaking out. I was like, what the heck is that? Really cool moment. I find that there's not a lot of in a way, there's not a lot of story in these games, generally speaking. You don't feel like things are moving. It feels like everything's just waiting for you to get to them and stuff. And in a way, it makes sense, because a lot of the times, these games are taking place in a time when the place is desolate and stuff, and it's dying, the earth is dying kind of thing. So it kind of makes sense, but usually there's something kind of going on, but maybe in the background, or maybe it has already happened. That's about it. So I do like that there's something that feels like the events are kind of going. And the Great Rune, Mikula Shedding the Great Rune is definitely eye-catching and memorable, I hope. Like every NPC, literally, I think, besides like one that's not even like the Dragon Communion girl, like besides her, I think that literally every NPC has something to comment on for this, which is great. Like I like that. It feels like something is happening, even if it's very minor, kind of in a sense. Yeah, that's really cool. And thankfully, I eventually thought about the Fissure, because I did find the Fissure when I was exploring Cerulean Coast in my first like early game kind of like, I think the second day or something I found that. And it was definitely a very like, oh, this looks important. So I noted it down. I think right before I was going to take a break, I was looking at the map. I saw that I had marked the Cerulean Coast Fissure thing. And I was like, wait, I don't remember exactly what it says, but this feels like a thing that could be changed now. And sure enough, once I went there, I saw the Fissure was open. So that's my next area, I believe, that I did after doing Scadu. And oh man, this was really refreshing. You walk in there, you're going like down to it without even getting to know what the area is. And you start hearing like the music start becoming more somber and stuff. And I was like, whoa, what's this? Like you can feel this melancholy just from the music going on. So you can tell that this is going to be important. And you kind of already get the feeling that's probably going to be related to St. Trina, because a lot of the Cerulean Coast things like are related to that. And by this time, you hopefully have found the cross that says that Mikula just discarded their other personality, I guess, of St. Trina, which, you know, that was, I'm sure that was a big lore moment for everyone. Just like we all knew, right? Like everyone who knows the lore is like, yeah, they're probably the same person. But so yeah, it's just a really cool lore moment, and you kind of have a feeling that that's what it's gonna be, because you also see a lot of sleep stuff like very early on. The fiends have like sleep affliction instead of bleed. So yeah, I have very fond memories of that so far. Just going down there, like the area, you know, maybe not necessarily super impressive, but I do have a certain sweet spot in my heart for like vertical level design. So just kind of descending into this slowly, a little bit treacherously, trying to get down there with these like coffin things, which I couldn't pin that there were coffins until that moment. It was really cool. I really like the area. Maybe not the longest area, thinking about it back, but you know, you still had a lot to look into, you know, a lot of little nooks and crannies. And when it comes to like a dungeon type areas, I'm not as concerned about the like density of items per the area like I was with like the Graveside Plane and stuff. There's a lot more to shine as far as level design goes, and I feel like usually they do reward you to like exploring a little corner, even if it's a minor item, which is better than I feel a lot of the open world areas have been. But yeah, so making it down there, the only part that I didn't love was towards the end when they have the skeletons that were literally just like the Dark Souls skeletons. Like they already have skeletons in this game that are different from those. Like I think they do still have they have the Dark Souls skeletons as well, but I don't know why they brought those back with just different hue and do almost literally nothing different than their attacks that you've seen since like 2011, you know. Maybe not. Maybe it's like Dark Souls 3 skeletons or something, but you know what I mean. It's not that interesting. The Misbegotten was like weirdly annoying too. Like I'm fine of fighting them, but I don't know. They definitely hurt a lot. I'm Indigan +7 as I said, so it could be partly that too, but I don't know. It was annoying. And also when I died a couple times, I had to deal with those skeletons sometimes coming and stuff. So yeah, it wasn't fun. But yeah, that was the only like weak segment in the actual level. But then you get to the boss, and you know, I dropped down that really long drop. My first thought immediately was like, oh, Midir, because you know that's kind of the same vibe that the arena has. And then I remembered, wait, no, I've seen this in the trailer. I remember that. And so I realized before I even saw the boss, oh, it's going to be that like horse, somewhat skelety, but not really a person or something. Didn't realize back then that was going to be considered a major boss. And it was. And it was massively disappointing. I would even say almost infuriatingly disappointing. Like, for me, at least. It wasn't a hard boss. I could tell, like, I think the first attempt I got it to, like, do that one face transition attack, and that I think that got me, or like almost killed me. Definitely felt annoying and dumb at the time, but I could tell it wasn't gonna take me that long, and it didn't. But it was still very frustrating, some of the attacks and stuff. Like it's a similar thing to Elden Beast, where like it definitely likes to run away sometimes, just wasting your time after doing attacks. And it's like, man, I the amount of time that seems to happen in this DLC or even the base game, with few exceptions, I think a good rhythm to a fight is like, oh, your opponent attacks, you get to hit them back once or twice. Like that's a good balance of kind of back and forth, and a lot for me at least, it's a very good way to fight. Like I like being aggressive if I can, So having attacks sometimes they just attack and they just get like a mile away from you. It's like ugh. There wasn't that much of the case here in this case, but there was a couple times where it was, and it was annoying. Because sometimes, even if they do that, they don't give you enough time to like heal necessarily like super safely, at least like double chug or anything. So that can be annoying. But either way, it wasn't so much that annoyed me, it was just how underwhelming it felt. Like it was just some guy on a horse using a blade that wasn't even his placenta. What a fucking scrub, you know? No, but it was just underwhelming. Like, Saint Trina deserved a lot better than this, I think. Like, if this was just like a random boss, I would be a lot less annoyed about it, but it was a remembrance boss, so by definition, it's among the most important ones. I think it was my third remembrance, so... And it might just be me, I don't know. Maybe people just got through it and was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, I don't think it's gonna be anyone's favorite boss by any means. But yeah, maybe I'm not making it sound as bad as it was for me, because honestly, it kind of soured almost the rest of my PlayStation for that day. Having that like really mid-ass boss at this amazing area was not fun for me. But yeah, and then you find Centrina just right there. She doesn't do anything really. Like, I did get that one poison guy to come down and stuff, but even he didn't seem to have much to do yet. I'm hoping there will be a little bit more, because it almost is a little bit underwhelming. But even if not, I guess it would kind of make sense even that, you know, she's just kind of there. She's discarded side of Mikola, so I don't know if she has much autonomy or voice, even if this guy wants her to speak. Yeah, it was so neat though. The design for it is weird. Like I at first, when I first saw her, I was just like, where's the face? Where's the thing? I thought she was looking away at first, and then she wasn't. Her hair, like from behind, it still looked like the back of the head with hair. And only until I interacted with her did I notice, oh, the head is right fucking there. What the fuck? It's like a little child, like curled up, I guess. That was really bizarre to realize, but it's a really cool design, to be fair. So I'm hoping later on you will be able to do more about this. Like, if there's like a continuation to the questline, I guess I'll see. Then the next area I want to talk about is the Rauh Base. And admittedly, it's a very average area at best. It kind of made me realize that, yeah, there's a lot of areas that are just kind of like connecting / filler areas, if that makes sense. Like, it's just like, if you want to think about it more like on a level design sense, like maybe think of it as like the Valley of Drakes in Dark Souls 1, where that's like an area, quote unquote, but it's very small and it's supposed to be more of a hallway. Like, the games will need something like that every once in a while, right? Especially to connect like the Valley of Drakes is kind of great actually, because it connects like I think 3 areas. It serves a really good purpose and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't know if these games generally connect as well, because it's just a lot more open and stuff. You can do a lot of different things that maybe aren't as tight level design wise and stuff. But it's just a very minor standard area. There's not a lot to it per se. I guess it's just kind of to fill out the base of that area. They don't want to just empty, in a sense. One thing it does have is fucking kindred of rots that seem the exact same, as far as I could tell. Like, I mostly cheese them from far because I was like, I don't want to deal with these guys, especially because they usually come in like 2 or 3s. So I think I mostly just shot them with my jar cannon. But they do seem exactly the same, just in a red hue, and I'm like, why? What are you doing this? Like, I would almost prefer they're just normal colored, so I know they didn't waste time with this. Just wasted time changing the color of it. Like, come on. And there's also a second rune bear, which that was like, okay, like I know the first one's named, so there could be others that are named, but I definitely didn't enjoy it as much the second time. And yeah, I mean, there's also the normal rune bears around, which is like excessive as well. Like, I didn't love that. But since it is a minor area, I do want to talk about 2 different things here. The first one is the catacombs. Man, I definitely had a sense of dread when I found the first one, which I think was Fog Rift Catacombs. I think that's the one I found first. So far, really good actually. The catacombs, the thing that was really crappy about in the base game was that they just reused this format, but didn't do much unique with them. There's only like 2 or 3 that were truly unique and felt like a good use of the catacombs. And so far, there's the one that has like the spike traps kind of introduced, I want to say, like as the first one. They reuse them later, but like, yeah, there's just the spike ceilings and stuff like that drop down. That's a really cool detail. Like, the first time you see that, you see like the blood pool, which is like, oh, I don't know about this. And then you look up and you see, oh, that's why. That's really cool. And then the other one that's memorable, I think it's only a 3 or 4 that I've seen so far, is the one with the eyes that, like, if they look at you, you get death blighted. That's also really cool. The couple of different ways that they do that's actually pretty fun as well. Like when they go in the hallways and they kind of bounce back and forth. It's really cool. It would have been even more menacing if they could track you a little bit more. Like maybe the ones that are just bouncing, maybe they can turn to you or something. That would be like horrifying, and I would love that so much. It wasn't too hard to deal with them though in general. Like as long as you have some decent resistances that you can get, or like the cure. And so far, a lot of these catacombs feel like a Zelda dungeon in a good way. Like it feels like they have set pieces that are interesting and stuff, and it's really cool. So yeah, positive points on the catacombs. But unfortunately, instead of the catacombs being an annoying part, we got the forges. I had found a forge in the first video, but I didn't. I mean, it was the first one I found, so I didn't have too much to think about individually. Like it was fine. Like I was like, okay, that's interesting, that's new. So what's going on is that there is a place that's kind of a replacement to the mines, I guess, where you can find a lot of upgrade materials, a lot of things related to the lore of forge and smiths and stuff like that. You get a lot of those throwing weapons in there. And the main enemy is like some golem people, I don't really know what their name is, that have one weakness, and it's like a ruby in their behind, in their like pelvis area, whatever the fuck it is. I think it's a pelvis, I don't know. And even when you hit the weak area, they're so tanky. Like I don't know if maybe they're just resistant to slash, but yeah, they're not fun to fight. So I didn't love the first one necessarily in that regard, but it was like, okay, like I mean, I got some stuff in here, it's fine. And even though it is a little bit underwhelming, I did find it interesting that you don't conclude the dungeon via a boss. You just get like that thing you turn off or whatever, and you get an item at the end. Like that was interesting. That was different enough, I suppose. But it is a dungeon too, so there's like those metal pipes and stuff, and lava and everything. So they remind me a lot of Skyrim. I think it's the Ethereum or thing or whatever. But unfortunately, I think I found 2 more in the mid game, and then it started getting really grating and annoying. Because again, those enemies are really hard to fight, or really annoying to fight. They take a long time, and they have really awkward moves, because of course they do. Like even the second one, I was like. Even then, I was like, ugh. And then I found the third one in Rauh. I didn't even kill. Like, I think I died once or twice, and I was like, okay, I'm done. So I just ran through everything. Like, I wasn't gonna get any new experience from killing enemies. And yeah, unfortunately, the forges so far are basically the catacomb of the DLC. They're not fun. They're kind of predictable and stuff, which is fine. But yeah. And I guess finally, the Shadow Keep. Once you actually get into the keep, like you fight the hippo, that was fine. I didn't mind that there was a hippo boss. I'm glad. Well, I mean, I found a hippo of overworld first, so that was a little bit like, oh, another one of these. But obviously, it's bigger and has that second face. Like it was fine. I didn't mind necessarily. Although I do have to question if Miyazaki knows animals well. Anyway, yeah, the Shadow Keep was really cool. I liked the look of it. I liked the vibe of it. Unfortunately, it was just too short. Like the Shadowkeep segment was, I felt way too short. Like when I was going in there, I mean the map looks pretty big. So I thought it's gonna be a moment where you like, it's almost like infiltrating a castle and stuff, which is a cool moment to kind of capture in the game, you know. So I thought that was what I was gonna come in for, and it kind of was, but like not really that much. I didn't feel that grand or anything. It was very short, like I said. So a little bit underwhelming in that regard. I wish I had more of the keep. There's like a whole right part of the map that I don't think I explored properly. Like I don't know if I just missed it, or if there's another way it connects into it or something. I don't know. I'll have to explore more of it. But at least the parts that are mandatory right now, like it's pretty much a Shadow Keep, and then it leads into the Specimen Storehouse. Interesting area. It's definitely very reminiscent of some of the other ones in the series. Like we got the Duke's Archives, we got the Research Hall, the Grand Archives in DS3 as well. But it does kind of just feel worse than most of, worse than the Research Hall at the very least, which is probably the better one, I think, out of all of them. Because it does have a contraption at the end that kind of like lowers or raises a thing, but it's just a centerpiece that lets you traverse like the last bit. So it doesn't really change your perspective of the entire level like that. And overall, like the actual area was kind of to be honest. Like I love the concept of that kind of thing, but it just felt a little bit worse than Research Hall and didn't do much new really. Oh, one thing that sucked is that the Firekeeper, the first one you find on the Shadow Keep going to the Storehouse was really cool. I thought it was one of the better balanced enemies in the DLC so far, maybe the base game even as well. And then in the Specimen Storehouse, you find the dagger variant, which is just it's like more of the same. More enemies just spam attacks with roll catches and some delayed attacks, and then sometimes spam the fire, which is like, okay, stop. It's making it really hard to close the gap. So yeah, there's way more of those. I think there's only like 2 sword variants, like one at the very end and one before the Specimen. So I didn't love fighting those. There's that one ladder segment that I could tell lead to a lot of different areas that weren't accessible yet. And for the fucking life of me, I cannot figure out how to get there. I spent like an hour and a half like looking for a way there, not finding it. I even found a way you can like get on top. Like there's like a bookcase that goes in between it. Like I found a way that it could theoretically jump on it, but there's a wall, like a visible wall around it that I couldn't get to, which was frustrating because I thought I figured it out. But then upon looking at it more, that's actually not even where the ladder starts. It's like in the middle. So that made more sense after that. I was like, okay, well, we can't really make it there either way. Like I thought for a moment there was gonna be contraption you can use to open the bookcase, but no, I was wrong. That's just a me problem though. Like that's not necessarily a critique. I'm guessing it's either later, like something you do later from a different angle. Maybe I do have to come at the shell key from a different angle, or I just have to get good and figure it out later. I don't know. I'll find it, I'm sure. But then at the very end, you predictably get Mesmer, and oh my god, best boss so far. Definitely an S tier. Definitely even up there with the base game, I would say. Like as far as bosses that just feel satisfying to learn. And for me, it's the reason that all the attacks, or pretty much all of them, there's a very clear telegraph of what the attack is. On occasion, it'll have different variants, so you have to be careful of more attacks. But you usually know when you see like the last swing that that's the last bit, so you can punish. Almost every single one. And none of them come out way too fast, so you have to kind of react preemptively or roll preemptively. You can just see what they're doing. Well, in a split of a second, you can react to what they're doing. You know where to be, and there is a way to roll it that makes sense. It was still hard. Like I didn't think it was gonna take me that long, because I think I got into like less than a third the first time. But it did take me like, I want to say 2 hours or something like that. I didn't really time it, but around there, which is fucking refreshing. It feels more akin to something like Bloodborne or maybe in Dark Souls 3, which had sometimes its own flaws too. The only attack that really pissed me off was the one where scraps the spear on the floor and then does a delayed thrust. For some reason, especially the one where it's buffed with fire, has a lingering hitbox. It's just fucking bullshit. Like, this motherfucker will track you actively after you rolled already, and sometimes it'll just clip you at the very end if you don't roll late enough, which is obnoxious. That is so tilting, it's awful. But I mean, relatively speaking, if that's the only complaint I got, really, like, shit, I'll take it. That is the best boss in ages. But admittedly, though, I do have to say, like, yeah, your poster boy child boss is the best one. Good job, FromSoft. you did the bare minimum, I guess. At least it's better than Melania. Like at least you can understand how to dodge most of them naturally, as opposed to like Waterfowl or something, which is like to figure that out naturally how to dodge that is fucking insane. Phase 2 definitely brutal. I like that it's mostly just an expansion of the same stuff. The snake attacks, you know, it did take a while. I didn't feel like I probably learned that because I did kind of just like scored the first time or like the one time I actually did survive the one where he explodes and then throws the snakes at you a couple times. After I got that, I think one or the second time maybe even, I was able to manage and killing them. But I had gotten that phase a couple times by then. But yeah, for the most part, it's fine. Like even the one where the snake is the one that's about to do the explosion from the beginning of the fight, it's almost the exact same. So you almost naturally know the timing, and that's a really good way to do it. Like it's more intimidating. It probably would hurt a lot more. I think it does hurt a lot more, but it just works a lot better, and I'm happy for it. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the end of the mid game, I would assume. Like maybe there's more to the rest of the game than I thought, but I think that's a good threshold. But hey, I mean I won't go into it now because, you know, it is going forward into the end game, I think. But I did find an area that I'm so excited to play next, because it's a theme and concept from the base game that didn't have a lot of representation, and it looks like it will get a whole area at the very least. So I'm excited for that. I hope you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, I definitely like the mid game a lot better. Boss wise, it's still not very great, which is kind of disappointing because, you know, as I said, for a lot of people this game is about the bosses, but so far they've mostly reused and reskinned bosses, and it's kind of like and it's kind of crappy because I'm still kind of feeling the same way as I did in the first video, where like you'll have a really decent area and then a boss just ruins it in some way, you know, and like it's kind of just sad, a sad state to be in, I feel. So it does have flaws and stuff like that, and there's a couple things that are not great. Like almost every area that I've talked about so far has some caveat, which is like, eh. But as I said, to me, this is more on par with the base game at the very least, where like there's a lot of good content, but there is also some stinkers in there that kind of bring it down a little bit, you know? And I'm just hoping it gets better, because I've heard both. I've heard both that it gets like fine, or it stays the same, or it gets worse, or it's whatever, you know? And I mean, I kind of prefer hearing that, so I can at least form my own opinion, not have too many expectations one way or another. I just hope you realize how weird this is, by the way. Normally in game development, the most attention is played into the early areas, and then maybe if the game starts being a little bit rushed, the end areas start being a little bit more hit or miss. And that definitely happened a lot in the base game of Elden Ring, because Mountaintops was kind of very barren and stuff. Fire Missoula could probably be programmed separately since it was a separate area, so it wasn't as much of an issue there. But there's that, and maybe even the Ashen Capital, who maybe was intentionally done kind of barren. But just look at Mountaintops, you can tell that not as much love was paid into that. Like maybe they wanted to, but they couldn't. And that's why it was a little bit distressing for me to start off in a bad note, because I didn't expect it to necessarily get much better, but then it did go up. So I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. You know, it's just a weird state to be in. But yeah, here's hoping I enjoy it even more. We'll see if the end game is better or worse than this mid game. Yeah, that's all. I definitely feel a lot better about this one because it's a lot more concise and stuff. I wrote down notes to be able to at least stay on topic a lot more. And I hope you all enjoyed it too. So whether you are new finding this video or actually appreciated the last one, be it that you agree or just willing to hear me out, I appreciate you. I know that, and I saw that there was a lot of unsubs in the first one, and I don't mind. Be it that people don't want to see this kind of content in their feed, that's fair. But I would prefer to garner an audience that is more willing to be critical about things, even if you disagree. Like, you can disagree and still be fine. I don't know. Like, but yeah, I hope that the people who do like it or are okay with this or whatever, like if you enjoy hearing differing thoughts on it, hope you did enjoy it. I will see about maybe doing an endgame one after I'm done. And then after that, I don't know. I'll probably do a callbacks video for the whole DLC on the rest of the series, and I don't know, maybe after that we'll see if I want to do like individual area reviews with being a little bit more analytical and more thought out through, because these are obviously my first impressions mostly. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you did like this content, do consider subscribing. Thank you for my members for supporting as well. I did have the last video, if you haven't watched it by any chance, where I talk about how the first chunk of the base game or the BOC did disappoint me. You can watch that if you wish. I don't even think it's that harsh on it. Like, that's just my thoughts. Like, that is what I thought. I didn't say it was bad. To me, it's not been fun. So, and I do have other general analytical content on the rest of the game too, the base game, if you want to see some of that. Yeah, I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.